Hi, yeah, this is my first video on SAP SAC knowledge sharing. It is not the training or it is not the course, just whatever I earned, whatever I gained throughout this experience, throughout this journey. Just I want to share this knowledge with you. So, whatever the screen you are seeing here, this is the SAP SAC Analytics Cloud screen. This is trial user I have connected to, and I have only trial ends in 6 days only. So in the next 6 days, whatever I can cover, I will cover and upload into this channel. Okay, so this is the SAP product. People call it as SAP call it as Analytics Cloud. People will call it as nowadays SAC simply, and some people even call it as SAC also. Okay, what is SAC? It is like actually the name suggests like name is telling like it is analytics cloud. It is analytics and also the planning system. So this cloud platform can be used to analyze the customer's data, and they can make some plannings up to some extent, like adjustments or those things they can do, and they can publish their plan data in this platform itself. What is happening in the current scenario? SAP is having one planning tool, that is business planning and consolidation tool. Almost all the customers, they are whoever using this BPC tool, after completing their planning, then they are publishing this plan and actuals and other forecast data onto the some reporting tools, either the Tableau or Power BI or QLake. But this SAC component is giving advantage that they can publish their uh, plans and actuals into this dashboard itself, like visualization, they can visualize their data in this tool itself. Before discussing of the visualization and the planning features, let us understand first what are the components here in this SAC. As I said, SAC is kind of uh, a tool. It is a kind of tool, and we can say like BPC has been transformed into the cloud with a lot of enhancements. As I said, BPC is the business planning and consolidation tool, right? So whatever the features are there in the BPC, they are the same kind of features they have uh, maintained in the SAC also. What are the features we can see like in the BPC? What are the features are there? Those features here also we can see like majorly the modeler you can see. Okay, and data actions we can see, allocations we can do in the BPC, and multi actions also there. So analytical applications, this is the majorly building your dashboards with more visualization tools and stories. These stories mostly the users they prefer to build their own stories. They can build their own stories in using these stories dashboards. Yeah, let us first focus on the modeler, okay? Because this modeling concept is almost every software ERP systems we can see, right? Like bringing the master data and bringing the transaction data, then joining those tables, whatever the either if it is the star schema or whether it is a snowflake schema. So joining the tables and maintaining the relations, all the blah 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 stuff will be there. In the same way, here is also uh, you can see under the modeler. Under the modular, you can see here. mm, okay, under the modular, you can see model, live data model, and here you can see public dimension tables, conversions, point of interest. So before talking of the model, let us focus on this public dimension table. If we are all familiar with the BPC or SAP BW system, we can understand what is the dimension table, right? So this dimension table is nothing but to maintain the master data. We use this table. What is the master data? That is the question here, right? So master data as per SAC, I mean SAP definition or some ERP as per ERP definitions, the data, whichever data remains constant for some time, like mostly the uh, product details, product names, company names, or currencies, either their profit center names or the cost centers, sales units or business units in business terminology. Okay, those kind of objects generally we call them as master data objects. So in any ERP system, first we focus on master data, right? What who are the customers, these customers which region they belongs to, and then region is the one master data, customer is the one master data, vendor is one master data. So like this we classify all the objects into master data. So for our understanding purpose, I took very minimal data set. For easy understanding, I am using some used car scenario here. That is actually my interesting topic also. That's why I have taken some small, very small set of data to give you the demo of master data and transaction data loadings into the SAC system. Okay, here you see one sheet I have maintained variants. These are all car variants, right? These are all car variants you can see, and you can see here brands I have maintained, and there are some accounts I have maintained. Very little information for our understanding purpose. And now you can see the variants, right? So variant ID, variant name, brand ID, transmission type. These data set I have maintained. Generally, we call all these kind of sheets or Excel workbooks. We call in SAC or in SAP terminology, we call it as uh, data sources. Okay, Excel this is my file system. This is file is the local system or source system we call. In the source system, this one Excel file is one data source. Like that in SAP we define. Okay, so here you can see dimension table. If you go here, if you click on here, first let us create one dimension table to bring this variance data into this dimension table. When you go to this create a dimension table, here you see generic account organization. This is one interesting feature I have noticed in SAP SAC system. In the BPC, you can see different type of dimensions, especially when coming to the planning. We can see account, entity, category, time, and reporting currency. I mean currency type of dimension. These kind of dimensions generally we use for the planning systems in BPC side. But when it comes to the SAC, here you see account, organization, generic. Only these three type of dimensions. Type of dimension actually, the advantage of this type of dimension, I mean selecting the type of dimension is nothing but it will add some additional properties or default properties to that dimension, so that that can those additional properties we can use in our planning side or reporting side. Okay, and let us first start with generic. Here you can see generic, right? So generic I'm selecting, just I'm giving one brand variant name I'm giving, and description also I'm giving like brand variants. Okay, now you see enable data access control, and here hide hierarchy nodes for users without authorization, enable responsibility, enable currency. It is generic dimension. So for now, I'm not selecting any of these options. I will tell you later why I'm not selecting. If anything I can select, what happens. Let us create this dimension table. Once I create this dimension table, you can see one table structure it opened, right? So it is default, it is showing the member ID and description, and default one unassigned member ID also added, and it's showing the description as unassigned. And the right side you can see the dimension table structure, how it looks like brand variant description. It is giving some rights and access and properties hierarchies it is showing. So you can maintain your properties and you can maintain your hierarchies also here. To unhide this one, just to click on this details so that you can expand your dimension table here. It is default, it is in the table format. So this table format or grid format has been enabled. Or you can display in this like also. This is only display, right? If you go here, you can input the data here. So manually also you can input master data in this table. But our intention is to bring the data from that Excel sheet into this table, right? So here, but here we have something need to understand. Like here you can see this Excel file. This is my source file, right? File is my source system. In the source system, I have one Excel file. This data I want to bring into the dimension table. So here actually four fields here: brand ID and transmission time, ID and a name. So my dimension table is having only the two fields. So I need to add rest of the two fields also here. So rest of the two fields are here. Just they are giving information, additional information. You can say additional information of that member ID. So that the additional information of that member ID generally we call it as property with respect to the BPC and SAC, and in BW terminology we call it as attribute. Now, now let us open these details. Okay, here you see property. Let us maintain the properties for this uh, for this dimension table. So property ID, whatever the dimension in this dimension, what is the property name? Brand ID is there. It is up to us. Whatever the property name you want to give, you can give it. Just I'm giving brand only here, and here is also brand I maintain. And this property type, it is nothing but data type. You can see here different type of data types here. So out of them, I am selecting the test only, and test length you can maintain. I'm not sure what is the maximum length of this test. It is not in my mind right now. Okay, value is required. Is it required value or is it default? Let me okay, let us leave it for now. Okay, so I'm creating the property here. One property I have maintained. I need to maintain one more property like transmission type. Here, let me take it to the transmission type. The property name I'm maintaining here, transmission type. This is also test I have taken. Let us create this one. So I have created the corresponding dimension table for the file. Here you can see brand and transmission type. Now, as I said, like it is allowing you to input the data in this table so that you can understand like it is, we can manually also maintain the data in this table. As I said, like our objective is here to bring the data from that flat file into this table structure. So go let us see how can we bring the data into this dimension table. Here you see dimension table data management, it is still disabled. Why it is still disabled? Because we have not yet saved this structure. We have created the structure but we have not yet saved. Let us save this one. I have saved this structure, right? Now you can see data management. What is this data management? One interesting thing is here, uh, when you compare the BPC system, generally we compare the BPC with the SAC system because BPC is also the SAP product. Whether SAC is having more benefits than BPC or not, generally we compare, right? So here you can see data management for the dimension table. It means you can upload your master data directly into the dimension table before without assigning this dimension to any model. That's what one enhancement I have noticed. Generally in BPC system, you need to assign the dimension to the model. After that, only you can upload the master data into the dimension by using the BPC packages or some. Okay, but here that is not the way. Here, once you create the dimension table, you can directly connect to the data management, and it will take you to the data management um, dashboard. So here, data timeline, it shows all the status of that data loads and how many records it has loaded, whether the status of import is success or failure. That one it will show. So here I said data management tool here, right? So we are in the data management dashboard. Here you can see one thing, file and a data source. This is one important concept here, right? Actually, we plan to bring the data from the flat file, but here there is one more option, data source. What is this data source? Data source is a source system. Data source is part of the source system. So these are all the source systems. From the source system, you can connect, you can bring your required data sources. Data source is nothing but a table, we can say, or you can say view. Those are created or existed in these source systems. If you take SAP HANA, you can see the CV, I mean, you can see HANA views, calculation views, you can see analytical views, you can see attribute views, you can see, of course, CDS views also you can see. In the same way, S4 HANA also CDS views you can see. BW system, as I am from the SAP background, so in the SAP system, SAP BW system, you can see ADSOs and BW objects. BW objects in the sense info providers or composite providers. Those are all the things also you can. See, based on top of it again, later we create the queries and we bring the data into the SAC system. So here again, these data sources you can classify as like important live connections. Later we discuss how in depth of this data source. For now, let us focus on the file source system. So I'm selecting the file here. Here, select source file. I'm selecting the analytics. Here is my data, right? When I select the my Excel workbook, once I select the Excel workbook, it is bringing all the sheets from this workbook, whatever the sheets are there. See here how many sheets in my workbook: brands, variants, key figures. There's many worksheets are there in this workbook. So this workbook, when I call it, calls it is bringing all the sheets also here. Then let me select the variants. I want to bring the data from the variant sheet. So I'm selecting here. Now let us import. Oh, it has brought the data into the SAC system, but still you see one issue is there. Let us see what is the issue. It is showing how many issues. Okay, it is the data file and dimension mapping requirements. It is getting failed. One issue is there: dimension mapping. In the dimension mapping, it is showing dimension ID, but the system not able to find its corresponding or relevant fields from the file. That is the reason it is showing blank, because here dimension id column name is id, here column name is variant id. So that's why it is not able to identify the relevant field or respective field from the source. So let us maintain this mapping manually. I have created the, I have mapped variant ID with the dimension ID. Once I mapped, you see the system highlighted. Okay, this field, it is telling like this field already mapped. In the same way, description also, let us variant name map to the variant name, and brand ID. Now transmission type, transmission, I have mapped all the fields. I have mapped here. Another interesting thing is it is highlighting with the different colors. So this green, it is telling that yeah, they are the attributes. ID is key. In the dimension, ID is the key. Okay. In this dimension, ID is the key. Rest of all the attributes. So here let us finish the mapping. Nothing is there to do, right? First is the bring the data, then complete your mapping, then finish mapping. It is asking us, have you finished mapping and editing your data? Your data will be imported to the dimension after you click finish. So it is giving some warning message. If everything is fine, go and finish this importing. So overall 17 rows imported from our flat file. Here you can see the status uploaded once. If you go to the status again, you can see how many rows it imported, what timestamp also you can see. That's fine. Now let us go and see the data into our dimension table. Here select the dimension table again. So you can see now data here, right? But is that much of simple to bring the data from either from flat file or to the or from the data source to the dimension table? It is one-to-one mapping. There is no transformation. There is no conversion, right? Straight away we are bringing the data. But when you are bringing the data, most of the times we may need some transformation, some kind of transformations on the data or some kind of conversions on the data. You may ask to maintain your brand should be concatenated with the member ID when you're bringing the data into the uh, dimension table, because if they don't want to maintain brand as the additional property, they want to bring they may expect you to concatenate brand with the member ID, and then they will ask you to maintain this transformation in the dimension table itself. So that kind of requirements also may come up. So to deal that kind of transformations and conversions, there is a concept that is transformation window. You can see. Okay, this is the dimension table. Okay, we have completed importing. Once we complete the importing, we create another table. We create the another dimension table. Okay, so here you can see we need to bring the brands also, we need to bring some accounts also. What I'm going to do here, I will create one more dimension table. This time I will maintain manually this data. I have created the another dimension. So you can see here in the brands table there is only brand ID and brand name. Only these two fields are there, right? So here also you can see ID and description are there. So this is very simple one. What I'm doing here simply I maintain master data manually. So that's why here I click the switch display mode to the grid. I am taking you to the I'm taking system I am taking this dimension table to the grid mode so that I can insert the data here. Okay, so here I'm simply copying data. Here I'm maintaining the ID and a description, saving this data here. Okay, I have saved this dimension. So two dimensions I have so far created. When we need one more dimension also, that is account dimension. Now the question is whether we really need account dimension or not. That is the question first of all. Why? Because in ERP systems generally, when you are building any model, the designing the model, especially the financial planning systems, mostly they follow account based model. What is the account based model? What is the other model? That is the key figure model, generally we call it as. So when you are designing a planning system, especially the financial planning system, you need to think of the designing of the model, or whether you follow the account based or key figure based. Before discussing of this key figure and account based model, First, let us understand what is the transaction data, because here we have maintained the master data so far, right? The brand variants we have maintained and brands also we have maintained. So this dimension table will hold the master data. Now what is the other data, other type of data? That is the transaction data. Let us go to this Excel sheet. Here you see I have maintained some data here. Here this Excel sheet giving information that okay, in 2023 your inventory units are 100, your sold units are 20. The same way in 2023 other variant is inventory units are 200 but your sold units are 30. So this kind of information this file is giving us. Okay, now this is the year I maintained brand variant. Generally we call this line, up to this line we call it as the key, master key we call, because this is the combination of the master data, master IDs. So generally we call it as the master key, and this is the figure. So SAP terminology, generally we call it as the key figure, or we can call them as measures also. This is the one measure and this is another measure. Like that also we call. So this is having measures with respect to the SAC. These inventory units or sold units generally we call measures. Even in the BPC also we call them as measures only. Accounts are measures we call them. In the BW perspective, we call them as key figures. Okay. So here, if you look at this data sheet, these numbers may be changed next year, right? Inventory units may be changed. This key is constant. This key is constant, but this number may be changed, and this number may be changed. So that's why this data sheet generally we call it as the transactions. Transactions are regularly changes. The data is whatever the data set regularly changes. That data generally we call it as transactions. Everyday transactions are simply you can say, right? So this is the transaction data sheet. Now we need to bring this data to the BPC level, I mean SAC system. Here you can see two dimensions we have maintained. Those two dimensions are available in my SAC system. Brand and brand variant I have maintained. Okay, brand and brand variants I have maintained, and these two dimensions are public dimensions. Whatever the dimensions we have created. So what is the public dimension? Public dimension is nothing but sharing your dimension across the model, across the models. Say suppose if you have created finance model, sales model, and uh, production model you have created. So all these models they need brand, right? Each brand how much is sold, and each brand how many units you brought, you bought, and how many units inventory is there for each brand. You need to maintain this data in all the models. So brand is you can say public dimension, so that you can share across the models. That's what the public dimension is. So is there any other type of dimension? We are calling it as public. Is there any private dimension also? Yes, of course. Private dimension concept is there in the SAC system. The dimension which is specific to the particular dimension, that is generally we call it as the private dimension. You cannot share that dimension across the models. That's why we call it as the private dimension. So Here we have created two public dimension tables we have created. Now let us go to the models. So model and a live data model. This is one, in fact, great concept with the live data model. You can connect to the live data connection so that you can bring the real-time data into your SAC system. Of course, at present, there are certain limitations with this live data connection. We discuss later of those limitations, what is the live data connection, everything. Right now, let us focus on the model. Okay, create a new model. It is not creating model, it is create a new model. So we are creating the new model. If you click on here, it is showing two options: start with the data, start with an empty model. This option, the first option, start with the data. The first option, generally, if you are pulling data from any third party system or from the Excel, you can directly, if you want to directly connect to the SAC system and bring the data into the SAC directly, then you can use this option, start with the data, so that in the SAC, the model will be built by taking the field names, by taking the metadata from the source data source, and it will build its own, it will build metadata based on the data source field names. That's what the start with data. But here we are planning to build start with an empty data model. Why? Because just we want to see the model structure first. Here what is this telling? Start with empty model, focus on model structure first by adding measures dimensions manually with or without dimension tables. With or without dimension tables. We recommend the approach for planning purposes. See which scenario generally we go with this one and which scenario you need to go with this one. This is for business intelligence, analytical purpose. Generally we go. This one is for the planning purposes. Here there is one more option. Want to create a classic model or accounts only instead? This is one important thing in SSC. In SSC, when they delivered first the product, when they released it into the market, what I saw and observed, I noted that it is supporting only the classic model, just like the BPC system. BPC, SAP BPC system, currently it supports only the account based model because that is completely supports financial planning applications where your GL accounts will have only the currency as the unit. That's why BPC system supports account based model. But SAC will support financial and supply chain, other non-financial plannings also. Of course, yes, we can say that is the reason they moved this classic model as one option, but the main focus is on creating the planning applications for the different for the different categories, like I can say either the financial or non-financial. So what is the account based model? A classic model is nothing but account based model. Here they say like accounts only, right? We discuss of it after some time. Now I'm going with the start with an empty model. Okay. So here let us go with the create. It is opening the new model. This is the new model window. Details it is showing. Here you can see the detail. Right hand side you can see the new model details. Just let us close this right pane, and the structure here you can see the model structure, calculations, data management. There are three options. Okay, here you see measures. There is no element created yet it is showing, but here the dimensions default it is showing two dimensions, version and date. Interesting. Version and date it is showing. As I said, like in the BPC system, there are four dimensions are mandatory, like account, category, time, and entity. Four dimensions are mandatory for the standard model. There are also three type of models like standard, financial, and consolidation models. In the standard, the as I said, like four dimensions: account, category, time, and entity. These four dimensions are mandatory to select into the standard model. But in SAC, what they did, the version and date they maintained as default dimensions in the model itself. Can you delete these the dimensions from the model? Delete dimension table. Delete. See, you cannot delete it. Delete. Delete. Looks like your model is empty. So those two dimensions I have deleted. Am I able to delete it? Let me save. The following objects are missing in your model. You have errors in the following properties. The following objects are missing: date dimension and version dimension. Let us see by deleting these two dimensions whether we can save by adding some other dimensions and deleting these two dimensions. Let us see. Okay. So here I am adding some required dimensions. Once you click on the add dimension, you can see create dimension. You can create the dimension or you can add existing dimension. You can add existing dimension. We have created two uh, two dimensions we have added, right? So let me take the brands first. Let us add this, and I'm adding one more dimension, that is brand variant. So these two dimensions I have selected so far. Okay. And here, without having at least one measure, we cannot save this model. Let me save this one. It is throwing a error. What is telling? The model you are trying to save has validation errors. Here, let us see. Following objects are missing in your model. Show more. Okay. Okay. So here it is showing still, right? Date dimension is mandatory and version dimension is mandatory, like that it is showing, and the measure is important here. What is the measure here in this transaction sheet? Whatever the measures I said, these are the measures: inventory units and sold units. So you need to configure these measures in your SSC file. I mean SSC system. So go here. You can add your measure by clicking on this one. You can add your measure, or or go here, edit button, add measure. It is showing it created one row here, nothing is there. Click on details so that it will open the measure window of this line item. Okay, here you maintain inventory units, inventory units you maintain here. Okay, one measure I have maintained. What about its data type? Here decimal it is showing. Inventory units always should be the integer in this case. Maintain integer here. Aggregations. Your inventory generally can be summed up, right? So year wise or month wise or quarter wise, we can sum it up. That's the reason here aggregation type I'm keeping as sum. So the sum it is also showing additional details. And units, I'm not giving any units. Formatting you can maintain. Decimal places you can maintain for this one. This is all related to the data type, aggregation, and units and formatting behavior. Here, once I add this measure, let me add one more measure that is also we require, and this is sold units, right? So sold units. So sold units I maintained here. This one also let us maintain as integer, and sold units also it should be the sum. I maintained the sum here, and yeah. So two measures I have maintained, two dimensions also I have maintained. Let us save. Let us try to save this one. Again, throwing error. The model you are trying to save has validation errors. What will we miss? Date dimension, version dimension. The following edges are missing in our model. Why? Because we deleted from this dimension list, right? We deleted those two dimensions from this list. So without version and date dimensions, we cannot build a model. It allowed us to delete it. Probably that is the bug in this SAC system, because it should not allow if they are not mandatory, right? Okay, okay, we need to add these two dimensions, right? Here it is showing, right? Add new dimension table. I'm not adding the new dimension table, just I'm taking the date dimension simply. Okay, make public. Can we make it as a public? Add new dimension table. Let us go add existing table. Is there any date dimension? No. So that is the reason I'm selecting the uh, add new dimension table. I'm selecting and selecting the date. It is not public, and here the name I'm giving date. I'm adding this. Now in the same way, I'm adding version also. Here, if you go here, it will show version. See here how many it is showing: account, date, version, organization, additionally generic. So here I'm adding version also, and see version make public. Can we make public? No. These two dimensions are version and date dimensions are private. They are specific to this model. You cannot make them as public. Okay, so I'm adding this version dimension also again. Okay, to this model. Now let us save this model. What is this one? Brand inventory planning. Let me brand inventory planning model. This is actually, yeah, yeah. So this is one planning model. I'm writing it as the planning model. Let us wait. we need to discuss a few more things here. I'm straight away. I'm naming it as the planning, right? Is it the planning model really? That's what we need to understand. We are creating a model here, right? Just we have taken we have created some measures and we have created some dimensions here, but we don't know whether this model supports the planning or whether this model supports only the analytical purpose. So here you go to the model preferences. Okay, you go to the model preferences and see here whether it is the model. What is the model type? Planning. So once you create the model, the system is telling that okay, this is the planning type model. Planning capabilities default enabled. Default, your model is having planning capabilities. That is the default behavior of the model when you try to create a model in the SAC system. So in the model preferences, if you want to maintain it as the planning model, then maintain, or you can simply off this option. But we want to maintain the planning, right? This is this model we are creating for the planning purpose. That is the reason I am simply enabling this one. So once I enable this capability, here you can see time and planning. What dimension you are using for the planning? Date dimension you are used for the planning, because this is the dimension we have selected in our model. If you rename it, that dimension will be displayed here. Private versions, the model has no private versions so far. Okay. Planning area. This one we can discuss later. Recommended planning area. So these are all the options are there. You can see these are the planning related objects. Okay. And other thing is here you can see general settings. If you go to the general settings, you can see the planning, model layout, measure based layout. This is the measure based layout. It is telling it is not account based model layout. It is telling measure based. It means it is not the account based. As we discussed a few minutes back, there are two types of model structures. One is the account based, another one is the key figure based or measure based. So this is default measure based. And the name we need to give the description. And of course here date settings are here. We discuss all these date settings and conversions, structure policy, and date and performance in the coming sessions. Let us focus on first creating the model, new model here. Okay, I am renaming this as brand star. Yeah, let us maintain it as brand inventory planning. So I'm giving here brand inventory planning and giving here, so that I'm creating the one model here for our inventory planning. I have created one planning model. Okay, so in this video just we have seen how to create the dimensions and how to upload the master data and how do we create the model, what type of models are there. Primarily we use the measure based model in the planning purposes, and of course you can create account based model also. Still that option is available. And version and date dimensions are mandatory to select in your model. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching this video. Please give suggestions to improve the quality, either the quality of the video or quality of the teaching. Okay, thank you.